With Sheldon Keefe being fired, it has a lot of fans, not only of the Habs, but around the league, speaking out on Martin St. Louis' situation with the Canadiens, and a very interesting statistic that a lot of people actually didn't expect. We'll be getting into that later in the video, but first, we got to talk a bit about Habs prospect Oliver Kapanen, who signs a contract over in Europe, plus the Montreal Canadiens really like Ivan Demidov, and apparently it is not a Matvei Michkov situation. There is a lot to break down, so stick around for all of that on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, we're going to start with Oliver Kapanen, and he signed a contract overseas. And we're going to break this down from Marco D'Amico on Twitter, who actually, he often has a lot of the ins and outs of this stuff, so credit to him. Go check out his Twitter page, give him a follow. He always has some great stuff. He basically says Kapanen officially signs with Timrå IK in the SHL. By the way, Kapanen's father is the general manager of that team, so no surprise, set to expire at the end of 25-26. So basically, this has an impact on the Habs' entry-level contract for him. If they sign him to an entry-level contract this summer, he can come to training camp, still has to play in Sweden next season, but can come over for that second year of that Swedish contract. He can actually come to North America in 25-26. However, if he signs next year, then he'll have to honor his full Swedish contract. So with all that considered, Jesse, it sounds to me like we can probably expect, this is speculation, but this is all the signs point to this. We can probably expect Oliver Kapanen to sign his entry-level contract this summer and be at training camp for the Montreal Canadiens. It sure seems like that's where we're headed.
Absolutely, because we haven't forgotten about you, Oliver Kapanen. And I hope that you haven't forgotten about us either playing over in Europe so long. But it makes sense. Definitely, we want to see him in North America sooner than later, right? But just positionally just kind of makes sense, right? We have our whole system is just jam-packed, whether it's with the Habs, Arber with the Rocket, which he's more poised to obviously go first. Pay your dues there. He is going to get here eventually, right? But better for him just to mature over there and really kind of come over once he's really looking to kind of be at that NHL level, ready to go.
Exactly, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, I really wanted to see him in North America, but Timrå's a sort of middle-of-the-pack team, like, not right at the top, but they're solid, and his father's the GM. You never know what kind of benefits that could have. You're not going to, anyway, but at the same time, like, when you get, he's probably going to get heavy minutes based on his playoff performance last season. Heavy minutes on a middle-of-the-pack team to get a ton of experience in an adult league. That's sometimes more valuable than, often more valuable than playing maybe bottom 6 minutes in Laval in a packed Montreal Canadiens system. So shout out to Oliver Kapanen, hoping to see that ELC very soon. But yeah, hope he has a fantastic season next year. But Jesse, we're going to get into the next topic, and this is something very interesting. Apparently the Montreal Canadiens really like Ivan Demidov. Oh yes, that's obvious. The sky is blue, water is wet. That one's debatable. But Ivan Demidov is one of the top prospects in this draft, Jesse. Every team should like him, but we also said that about Matvei Michkov, and we said how the Habs should like Matvei Michkov. And on BPM Sport, this is from Dans les Coulisses, they basically said their point of view is that if Kent Hughes and his contemporaries are scared of missing out on Demidov, they got to do everything they can to get him. And Arpen Basu on BPM Sport said this. He said he's a player that's interested the Habs for a long time. It is not the same situation as Michkov. And they said Demidov could fall in the draft. We've been hearing rumors about him maybe falling in the draft, Jesse, but this is one of the first times, I know we've kind of heard it a bit in the past, but to hear that this is not a Michkov situation. If he falls to the Habs, they will probably take him, right? I'm picturing a world now where not only will the Habs maybe trade up to Chicago or whatever, but he could even fall to the Habs at 5. And the fact that they like him as much as these reports are now saying stuff that maybe we haven't heard as much recently, this is unbelievable news for Habs fans.
Okay, I love this, but we got to play it cool so that other organizations don't find out how much we like Ivan. Ivan Demidov is okay,
yeah,
but of course we're joking. This guy is a phenomenal player. Like, Josh, if you can't convince, the Minnesota Wild to trade you a Kirill Kaprizov, why not draft one of your own, right? And I love that they're open to this guy. I think it's because he plays the 200-foot game. I think that that's really, really the difference there. But when Kent Hughes is talking about all the time, it's like, okay, if we're going to make a trade, I think it's always for the long-term future of the team. Now, we know moving up in these drafts is really hard to do. You don't see it very often at all. Last time since 2008, right? But if Kent Hughes is looking to make it like a move for the long-term future of this team, like trading up possibly to that second spot, it's hard to think of a move that would really help establish this competitive window so far in the future other than that, because this is the skill, this is really that natural talent that we do need.
Yeah, he is unbelievable. And there's a lot of good prospects in this draft. We've talked so much about the draft. Check out our live stream reaction to the draft lottery where we went into a lot of different possibilities. We've been talking about it in basically every video. But to hear now how much they actually like him, and basically the plan is for the Habs not to pass on him. I'm not going to say that's exactly what was said, but that is heavily implied. Habs are not going to pass on him if he slips to them. So the idea that Montreal is in a prime position, and even some mock drafts showing him going to Montreal to get this top-level offensive talent, you can't ignore it, and it should have you excited. But Jesse, the final thing we wanted to get to in this video, this is a bit interesting. It's a bit unexpected, because a lot of people, when you look at Martin St. Louis, you think, well, he's this fresh new coach, right? Well, hey, he's right now the sixth now, this shows fifth, but he's the sixth longest tenured head coach in the NHL. Andre Tourigny is not shown here because he's technically the coach of Utah now. He actually was hired before St. Louis was. But Jesse, with the firing of Sheldon Keefe today, which I'm sure a lot of Leafs fans are maybe happy, maybe sad about, how fun, it's tangent. I see everyone get Sheldon Keefe out of here, and then the second he's fired, like, oh, he's great though, he'll do great somewhere else. So weird. I get it's the narrative, but anyway, he'll do great in the regular season somewhere else. But still, Jesse, this is ridiculous. And when you look at this list, you can include Andre Tourigny here, right? Above Martin St. Louis. How many coaches above him would you actually say their job is safe? I would say John Cooper, Jared Bednar, Rod Brind'Amour, and that's probably it. Tourigny, I guess we're not really sure because of the state of the franchise. And Mike Sullivan, it kind of seems like he's on the way out. Is it crazy to say Martin St. Louis has maybe top 3, maybe top 4 job security in the NHL? Or is it even crazy to say that he could be a top 5 coach right now? I feel like that is not that much of a stretch. We definitely need to see a bigger sample, especially some playoffs. But with just how long he's been with the Montreal Canadiens, 27 months to the day, it's starting to become more and more obvious that he is really, really valued in the NHL landscape.
Absolutely. Martin St. Louis will be a top 3 tenured coach in the NHL in the near future, which is so crazy to hear, right? Of course, with the departure of Sheldon Keefe, this is helping this. I would say just another victim in a long list of destruction from Austin Matthews. We're talking about Babcock. We're talking about Lou Lamoriello. We're talking about Sheldon Keefe. It's amazing for me that they still haven't quite figured out what the problem is yet in that organization. But, you have to feel like with the Habs, like this is absolutely incredible because for a team coming out of a rebuild, I think having consistency through your head coach and with your message is tantamount. That's so important. In fact, I could argue, how can you do a rebuild if you're really changing your head coach all the time? If you have no consistency in your organization, just ask the Buffalo Sabres, just ask the Ottawa Senators, what sort of problems? And we see the Ottawa Sens, they decided a new head coach, but there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of grumblings. Like it doesn't seem like it's quite the fit. Now, we know at the beginning, like with Martin St. Louis, for sure, there was a question about experience, but I think the way that he's really been able to help this team, I think there's no question that he is absolutely the best fit for this team. And not just that, like the best part about Marty is that he just really keeps getting better with time. And then also with that time, he's going to start attracting not just players, but very good hockey players to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what we're seeing, and I think you made a really good point when you look at some other teams, like throughout rebuilds, you might see some coaches fired in the middle of a rebuild. You might see coaches fired just as teams are coming out of a rebuild when the expectations go up. A lot of times GMs try and go all in maybe too early, and the teams sort of flounder, and then, well, it's the coach's fault. That's yet to be seen with Marty, but I absolutely do not expect it. Why? Because the culture instilled within this team, the way they speak about each other, the way they speak about the coach, the way that they go out there and fight every single night together, even through these tough losses, Jesse, this team must have been one of the happiest teams in the NHL, not because of the losses. I'm sure they all hated losing, but just camaraderie and culture together. That is almost impossible to instill in a professional hockey team. A lot of the times when that happens, you need like either an elite level coach or an elite level leader in the locker room or both combined. And hey, like I know the Habs have some great locker room guys, but it's mostly young dudes. And then you have Marty at the helm. So which one is he, right? I feel like this kind of thing is extremely rare. What he has done for this organization, what he has done for the players, and how he has gotten them to buy in. You don't see that in other organizations. Like we didn't see it with DJ Smith in Ottawa. I'm not saying it's not possible, or I'm not saying they didn't do their best or didn't do a good job, but I'm saying what we have is rare. And I think you're very right that like, there's not many other coaches in the league that can match that. So I think he'll be around for another long time and climb up this list.
Yeah, Martin St. Louis is the new Rob Brindamore of this league, of
Better
the
thighs
coaching,
though.
right? Right? And you'd have to, and we're wondering, like, why is he having such an impact on this team? And the question to that is respect, and then obviously just his incredible hockey mind for the game. But I would say that that's so important for especially this younger generation of players, is they really they need to respect their head coach. It was before in the past, even 5-10 years ago, where it was more top down, coach really dominating the rest of that team. Now it's more of a two-way street. And with that two-way street, now the players also need to respect the coach. And Marty St. Louis is one of those guys that you can rally around. Why? Because he's played the game. He's a Stanley Cup champ. He's a Hall of Famer. Just like how we see Rob Brindamore being a former player, he gets that respect. Martin St. Louis is garnering the same thing and that same model, and is putting himself in a position as he continues to grow to be one of the better coaches in this league.
Can you imagine if you combined Rod the Bod and himself being jacked with Marty and the best legs in the industry and their coaching minds? Rod's, just pure confidence, pure like the players just rally around him just like Marty does as well, but with Marty's mind for the game. Oh my gosh, you'd have the best coach in history. But that's just a fantasy for the future. But that's going to do it for now for this episode of Habs Digest. Before we get too out on a tangent, if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Guys, we're almost at 12,000. If you're still watching now, help us hit that goal. We would really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.